Hi and welcome to the U Revolution. My name is Paddy Venner. I've just been sharing a few thoughts, really by request. I've had people asking me to sort of talk a little bit about sleep, but also I've had quite a few clients actually talking to me about sleep loss. Parents who are saying that they're not quite sure how to get their children to sleep or how long the child should be sleeping for. Adults themselves that are struggling to sleep, and there are various factors I find these days that actually prevent good sleep, and things that can prevent it, especially these days, is screens of any size, screens of any kind. It can be a television screen, it can be an iPad, a tablet, it can be some kind of smartphone, and because phones are no longer just devices that you're making phone calls from, they are actually full-on information centers. We tend to go to bed with it in our hand, and these screens emit something called blue light, and blue light stimulates the brain, and therefore it's recommended actually that a good hour before you fall asleep or intend to go to bed, that you actually have no screen time. You stop all your screen time a good hour before you go to bed. And so these blue lights actually do and play havoc with the brain, and they can cause overactive thinking. Then of course there's the other thing where young people are very often involved on social media and in chat groups and things like that. And if you refer to one of my earlier videos where I speak about FOMO, that's the fear of missing out, I've actually dealt with numerous clients that are saying they're too scared to put their phone down in case they miss out on some juicy bit of information that's going on amongst their peer group. And so that actually causes stress, and the stress causes sleep loss. Watching movies and television until very, very late is definitely a contributor to people not being able to fall asleep. Sometimes people just lie awake stressing about tomorrow, and which is a really tragic thing, because there's a famous old proverb that says, each day has got enough trouble of its own, don't worry about tomorrow, and so that actually causes overactive thoughts. And it's one of the things that I battled with sometimes, especially in my younger years, was actually switching my brain off. And you see, one thought leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And then eventually the stress that you've got is the fact that you're not falling asleep. And you're stressed because you're not falling asleep, but you're not falling asleep because you're stressed. And it becomes this vicious cycle, this catch-22 situation. And so overactive thoughts. And I actually dealt with a client once where I actually taught them what I call a tap technique. And if you can imagine your thoughts like a flowing tap, and you just you picture yourself reaching out and slowly turning that tap off, and the trickle getting slower and slower and slower, and actually switching your thoughts off and allowing your brain to start to relax, and you start to drift off into sleep. Another thing that can actually stop you from sleeping is if you have a big meal just before you go to bed. Also, anything like chocolate or coffee that's got caffeine in it can actually be a bit of a problem. Another thing, funnily enough, is actually exercising late. If you exercise too late in the day, if you exercise about 2 hours before you go to bed, that should be okay. But anything within that 2-hour window before going to bed is actually highly not recommended. And a good night's sleep is important, because that's when your brain refreshes itself. For young people, that's when they grow. That's when the brain becomes ready for the activities of the next day. And so I hope some of these thoughts have been helpful, and do please leave some comments, and if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.